in our wedding industry, there are a lot of people, and I've been here, and I told Connie the story, that there are a lot of people who have broken marriages.
Yeah.
And they're so busy helping other people in their wedding, they forget to take care of home. And I was one of them. And I'm just being very transparent.
So did you get any flack from anybody? Like, well, why you didn't choose me to be a photographer or, videographer or, caterer or venue selection? Did you get anything back like that? And we don't have to say names.
No.
Really like to say names unless it's a good thing. We saying names about RJ and Nate and all of that and the makeup artists.
Right.
If we're talking about good stuff like that, absolutely drop the names.
Right.
But
Anything
we don't drop
outside of
names
that? No.
outside of that.
No.
So is it anything you want to talk about that?
Well, being in the industry, people approach you via DM. We get a lot of, from various people.
Yep.
And then you're like, okay, but we never really did business together, So, and then there's some people that probably,
A lot of times when couples, when they book, when they book me or book somebody that I'm shooting with or something like that, you run into where am I going to take pictures at?
all the time.
Especially in the
Portraits.
wintertime because it's going to be different. Because in the summertime, you can go outside. Welcome to the Wedding Dreams Unveiled podcast, your go-to source for insightful conversations with ordinary newlyweds and vendors navigating the difficult world of wedding planning. I'm your host, Livingston Lee, and with a decade of experience and hundreds of weddings captured, I'm here to tell you some of my stories and some of the other people's stories about the wedding business. Now let's get started with today's guests. Chip and Connie, welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yes,
We're
thank
glad
you
to
for
be here.
coming on up here to York, Pennsylvania, and seeing us and seeing the studio and all of that. I definitely appreciate y'all coming up. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks for the invitation. We appreciate it.
Yep. Y'all have an awesome story to tell. Very, very awesome story to tell. How you guys came together. Connie, you have the Premature Widow Foundation going on. I want to talk about that a little bit. And it's just, y'all are all over social media. You published all over the New York Times. I mean, it's just been great, and Chip, you are a educator and a photographer, doing your thing, you got a big presence on social media and I'm just glad to have you guys up here. So thank you very, very, very much.
Good. Glad to be here.
So Connie, let's start off by talking about your foundation.
Okay.
That you have, that you founded, the Premature Widow Foundation. You want to tell us a little bit about that, how that got started and all that kind of stuff?
Sure. So Premature Widow is what I call my baby.
Okay.
So a baby that was birthed out of tremendous pain.
Okay.
And I founded it in November of 2015.
Okay.
After losing my late husband in June of 2014.
Okay.
And so he was 38 years old. I was 40 at the time.
Okay.
And what I found out was widows just didn't look like me. And so when I looked around, there was nobody to talk to. There was nobody that could relate. There was my mother, my mother-in-law, those that had lost husbands that they'd had 40 plus years, but nobody that could relate to someone my age who also had, my youngest child at the time was 6 years old. And so I created what I felt like I needed, not realizing that it was going to be what so many other people needed as well. And so it has just grown beyond my imagination. There are members that are as far south as Florida, as far north as New York. We come together annually. They fly in for various things. I mean, about 10 of them flew in for the wedding. Oh, wow. And so they were my honorary bridesmaids, some of them. So it's a wonderful sisterhood where we get an opportunity to talk about the challenges of widowhood, the grief journey. They look to me, for a lot of encouragement, a lot of strength. And so this journey that I've been on for the past couple years, 2-3 years, they've watched it intently to see, how it was going to progress, how things were going to go. And, they look to me for a lot of hope, because it gives hope. and that there is life after this. There's something else on the other side of grief. And so that's what Premature Widow is about, to be the support, to advocate for. We do things in the community. We try to do things with the children, and but also give the widows and widowers, because they're welcome as well, an opportunity to talk about their grief, and an open place where they can talk about, wanting to live again, date again, laugh again, love again, because, that's what, we have to keep going, but being cognizant of the fact that having done that, just in my case, takes nothing away from what my previous life offered me, or none of the love that I held before, none of that remains here. But this life, you're able to go on, your heart's big enough that it can contain both of those things, and you don't have to feel guilty about it. And that's one of the things that I teach and talk and speak to, so that they can see that for themselves, that I can still honor him. I still take flowers to the grave. Chip goes with me. That doesn't take anything away from what that was,
right?
But it doesn't mean that there can't be life after that.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome, because there's a lot of widows out that probably don't look like you or look like us.
Exactly.
And they probably don't have anywhere to turn to. So
Absolutely.
creating, an atmosphere for something like that is great. It's something that, I'm sure a lot of people have flocked to and just said, hey, I have this support system, because, I'm sure I don't know how it is to lose someone in marriage.
Exactly.
But, I'm sure that's a hard thing to go through.
Absolutely. The hardest thing.
And you got to have God in something like that.
Yeah.
Hold on to your faith.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
Without that was, he birthed that, through me. And it was an assignment. When we first got engaged, one of the questions was, oh, is Connie going to step down now from Premature Widow because, she's getting married now? And, I had to set the record straight.
Right.
This isn't a job that I applied for. This is a calling.
Gotcha.
Because everybody can't do this. Everybody can't take, I always use the analogy of, if you break your leg and I break my leg, we both trying to drag across the floor, 9 times out of 10, you're going to wait till you get a little bit better and then try to help me.
Right.
But I was dragging my pain while pulling other people along with me. And everybody doesn't have the ability to do that. And so this wasn't something that I chose for myself. This was something that was chosen for me.
Okay.
And so I don't have a choice but to continue to live it out, because I'll always be the widow of my late husband. That won't ever change. So I've always lived it. And so when people come in, I still get calls all the time. We got a call right before the wedding of a brand new widow. So I get them all the time. It's unfortunately, yet fortunately, that there's someone that they can call. And so it's ministry. Wow. It's ministry. It's ministry of help, ministry of hope.
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. We'll have to list that in the show notes if you want us to. And
absolutely.
That way, I'm sure someone listening to this podcast that, because this podcast is for couples that just got married.
Right.
And, I'm sure things are happening out there.
Right.
And they'll need someone to talk to if they have to,
and everybody
come
knows
across
somebody.
that. Yep.
Or will come across someone that unfortunately, will have met this fate and, might need this level of support. And that's why we're here. Right.
Well, we will be listing Premature Widow in the show notes for sure.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
You are welcome. So let's kind of get into the other part of the podcast. You two just got married, and you've been married for how long now?
Less than a month.
Less than a month. So y'all are the freshest couple that we had on the podcast.
Less than a month.
That is so awesome to have, a couple, because the planning part of this is fresh in your head. You know?
Very fresh.
And I really want to talk about that, the planning part of this. But you want to tell, everybody how you two met, and maybe talk about the proposal?
Yeah, well, we met on social media, big on social, and Connie's on there as well. So I was doing a live stream back in 2000, December. 2020, late 2020.
Okay.
And
around COVID time.
Yeah, COVID time. Yeah, December.
Yeah.
And about believing in yourself, right?
Dreaming
Or
big.
dreaming
It was
big.
a story. Or
It was a
live-
story.
yeah.
It wasn't about photography. It wasn't about any technical thing.
Yeah.
It was about that. And I think Connie saw the replay and she commented. And I was like, okay, who is this? And, I think she's been following me because she was doing event planning. You were doing event planning.
Yeah, I was in the event industry. So I followed,
Yeah.
I was already following him. I just never knew who he was.
Right.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of mutual people that we knew, whether it be in the, event industry or whatever. So it was just somebody that I followed randomly.
Right.
Yeah.
But when he talked about that just kind of struck something like, dreaming big, dreaming again.
Yeah.
All of that, because that was kind of where my life was at that time.
Okay.
And so, I just said something simple like yes, but he didn't know he wasn't following me at the time until after I said something.
No, I wasn't. She was private too.
Right.
So you're on Instagram, so you can't see. And when people comment, and I was recently divorced in 2019 and I was just, in a place. And during the COVID time, it was hard because I was newly single again and I was alone and my kids. So, one thing, I felt like a public success, but a private failure.
Right.
So it was a weird kind of space to be in. So sometimes when you're doing these lives or doing these kind of speeches, sometimes you kind of encourage yourself. Some stuff that you wish other people would say, but you kind of say that for me. So I had no clue. And the funny thing about that, Connie doesn't know this, but I wasn't going to do that because I'm always talking about technical, about business, and not a motivational speaker. I was like, but something inside of me told me to talk about that day. And if I never would have talked about it, she probably would have answered or responded to the archive live, and I probably wouldn't have responded back to her. So things work in the way they're supposed to work in. So if somebody's listening to that, if something's on your heart and if God puts it on there, do it because you just never know. Like put premature widow on our heart. Let me just give you a quick story about that.
Yeah.
As a photographer, I was in Atlanta. One of my former brides, she needed some headshots and we went down and Connie went with me. We weren't married and we were down in Atlanta. And then I asked my former bride, because I lost contact with her. And I said, Melissa, how's Michael doing? She said, she paused. She said, you didn't hear? I was like, no, what? She said, he passed. I was like, oh my gosh. He got a motorcycle accident, blah, 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 blah. And Connie was there and Connie stopped. But go figure that we weren't engaged at the time. I was like, no, we were just dating at the time. But go figure. I go all the way to Atlanta, do these headshots in the studio, and I found out. And Connie's sitting right there.
Right.
And Connie and now Melissa are connected.
But what was really weird, once I started speaking to her about it, she was already following Premature Widow. She had already heard about it from social media. She had already found me on there.
That's awesome.
But she just didn't know who I was because there was no,
and
then you're standing right there.
And I'm
she's
standing
just
right there.
And I didn't know because sometimes I follow, some former brides, if you have a lot of clients, sometimes you don't follow and even the big life events, sometimes you just miss. It's so much stuff going on.
Yes.
And, it's just a blessing to be with somebody who's so tuned in and to know that. And then the resource is right there. But being newly when we were meeting, I didn't know the widow. I didn't know somebody that lost their husband. Either you were divorced or that's all, or something happened. Yeah, and it was just like, okay, I didn't know how to move when I met Connie. I didn't know. One thing she said to me, and she'll laugh when she said that to me. Once we started dating, I'm fast forward a little bit. Yeah, and she said to me, she said, "I'm a wife." And I was like, oh boy, here we go again. Just like the brother, I was like, oh boy, all right, here we go, another one. Almost every black woman I meet, I'm a wife. I was like, okay. And I wasn't remotely looking for a wife at the time. You know that, right, Connie? Yeah.
And I wasn't necessarily looking for a husband, but I had to let him know who I was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she told me who she was and told me who she wasn't.
Absolutely.
That's the most important thing. And you're laughing, bro. But she told me who she wasn't. So she wasn't playing those games with me. And she's smiling, but she's a Virgo. If you know anything about Virgos, okay, any of your audience, anything about Virgos, I call them virtuous Virgos because they're virtuous, but they will cut you. I'm not in the horoscopes that much. I don't know what your sign is, but yeah. That's why she's smiling right now. So cut to that camera. Look at that smile. She knows it right. But anyway, so we started dating in 2021. I took her out. And on our first date, I'm a media guy. So what do? I pull out my camera. And I'm actually going to send you some of this footage too. So you can see, I pull out my camera and I tell her, I ask her, I said, send this to your friend to tell me, because I know, women always, girl, how was your date? How was your stuff? And I was like, okay. We went to this place called Woodmont Grill in Bethesda, Maryland. And it was a time, we just had a really good time. And then we were talking, and I even got a number. We were talking so much on DM. I said, here's my number. Just call me. I'm trying to talk on DM. It's not like, give me a number. I said, you take my number.
Right.
That's exactly what he said.
Exactly. And I wait for her to call me because I wanted her to make some action. I said, I don't like to ask for her number. And then we go from there.
So you wasn't going to ask, right?
No, man. Dating over 40, it's like, it's different out in the streets. People tell you it's different. She was out here longer than I was, but I was just like, I was like, let me just give her my number. And then, but prior to that, it was Christmas time, and I just moved to my own place. I had no Christmas decoration. She told me she was big into Christmas. So it was COVID. We were kind of scared to meet people in person in late 2020, even though the holidays. So I said, hey, meet me in the parking lot by Home Goods. I know all women love Home Goods. Any home decor. Oh, yeah. She was into that. So I said, help me pick out some stuff. So we met in the parking lot and then, had a mask on. We're social distancing, but we went to Home Goods just walking around. That was my slick way of seeing her whole body. I want her to stand up. So fellas, if you ever want somebody to get a date and they're in the car, you can say, hey, go to your Home Goods real quick. So that's a free dating game for you. Free dating game for you, okay? I just want to make sure fellas know that. Home Goods, maybe Home Sense or any kind of TJ Maxx or Marshalls, any place that sells home decor. You can get a lady to say yes to that.
Right. That is an awesome story. Like, I mean, it says a lot, because as a man, you like, hey, meet me at Home Goods, but really, what you're trying to do. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
And I did get the Christmas decorations. I still have it to this day, right? I did get the Christmas decorations because, like I said, when I moved, I had nothing. It was like I was starting over like from ground zero, so a couch and a TV. I was like a college student, I felt like, right. So I needed a woman's touch. And she hasn't even been over my house at that time. So she was just helping me. And then the final part of that story is that where she lived at the time, a place called Crofton, Maryland, a friend of mine, a photographer friend of mine, she was having a housewarming, a virtual housewarming.
Okay.
And I was like, I told Connie, I said, I'm coming to this place over in Crofton to drop off a gift. And I told the address where I'm going. And what did you say, Connie?
And I was like, what? And I'm thinking to myself, is he stalking me?
It was right in your area.
It was my street.
What?
Yeah, of all places in Maryland.
So she was my absolute neighbor. Our garages and driveways back to one another.
What? So you're going to somewhere where you don't even know.
Random.
And your house is right next door.
So it was a brand new.
And I've never been to her house before.
Never been. Right. This was when we met in the cars at the shopping center. And he said,
I'm going to housewarming down the street.
My homegirl, she just built a house around here. Now, there's only one new build development that was going on at the time. And I said, oh, where's that? And when he said the name of the street, it was my street.
Wow.
And I was
you kind of like,
I'm like, this dude's stalking me. Like, he didn't look me up. Like, now you know where I live.
I had no clue. I promise you, fellas, I had no
How
clue.
many ladies out there would think that that's stalking? If you do, let us know in the comments.
Just a smidgen, just a little suspicious.
Right.
But all streets in the city of Crofton.
It was the same
street.
I mean, literally outside of my.
And you saw the lady all the time.
I would see her all the time, and I said to my daughter one day, I'm like, I think that lady does some type of podcast, because she'd be recording. Well, fast forward, I mean, she's a photographer. She does do that type of thing, and of course now she's a great friend of ours. She was at the wedding and everything, but it's just so funny. How
connections. Connections.
That clearly wasn't was a coincidence, but really wasn't a coincidence.
Yeah. That's awesome. That is awesome. So fast forward to the wedding planning portion of this. How did you and Connie decide on your wedding theme, your wedding vision. How did you guys decide on that together? Because you as a photographer, and you as like you was in the industry
events,
doing like events.
Decor,
how did and I'm sure the listeners want to hear, how did you two like plan all of this and do all of this? We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about vendors. We're going to talk about the decor, how you came about vendors, all of that kind of stuff because I want to know myself.
Right.
So I'm sure everybody else want to know, So how did y'all decide on the wedding vision?
I mean, I think we kind of talked about like we would see things that we both liked. And of course he did a lot of weddings. And so I was already following a lot of wedding things or event people. And so we got engaged. He proposed on a Sunday.
Okay.
Super Bowl Sunday, actually. It'll be a year next week.
Okay.
And
so hold on. Let's back up for a second. We're gonna put the wedding vision on hold for 1 second. Tell me about the proposal.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
just real quick.
I need cliff notes. So Super Bowl Sunday 2022.
correct.
And she had no clue. I don't know how I hit it. Her daughter, her oldest adult daughter, helped me. God bless you, Ashley. You listening to this because I couldn't have done it without you. And our officiant's house, and they're her great friends. They call Reverend and Minister Jones.
Okay.
And they were just friends of Connie. And I asked her, instead of, I was thinking about doing it like, me, I'm like, go big or go home. I wanted to do it at a basketball game. I wanted to do it at somewhere, not church, but somewhere public. But then I said, you know what? That would be more about me than her. Right. And one thing, and this is just maturity speaking in, because when you do this one time, I mean, I was married 18 years ago. So proposals and stuff weren't what they are now. There's no social media. There was no all this stuff. Right. So, and it was a very a simple proposal. But these days, proposal can be like a lot. So I said, let's go with simple. Let's use the people that have been there for her, that love her, and she wouldn't expect it. We were going to the house anyway. Right. Okay. After church, we were going over the house. So I had everything set up. We did every Sunday. Every Sunday, not every Sunday, but a lot of Sundays. After church, we go over the house, hang out. And this couple has been married 40 years. Okay. So they've been a mentor to us and friends. And they accepted me like they know me for 30 years, but they've known Connie.
And they were a part of, they were a part of my previous life.
Okay.
So they've done things with my late husband and I. They've been to my home. Right. And their home was the home that kind of covered my daughter and I, my younger daughter and I, with love during that period. So that's where we could go and get smiles and a lot of love and and so it was just a place that, so quite naturally, once I started dating Chip and things started getting serious, Dad was like, with who, Chip? Like, you need to bring Chip down here. I need to see who this Chip is. Right. So,
I want to examine him for myself.
Exactly. And so, just wonderful believers and just strong faith people that, and just wonderful friends. And so once he went that first time, they fell in love. Yeah. And we just started doing a lot of things together. So we had been planning this Super Bowl party. Right. Okay, we're going to do this. Well, we'll bring the chicken. We're gonna go Super Bowl party. Yeah. So
like everybody does, right?
Oh yeah.
But I figured that we would get everybody together. So I got our oldest daughter to round up everybody, all of our friends, some of our widows, some of the other people. And then I got Nate and RJ to capture it. I told them, so a photographer, videographer. I'll speak about them, about the wedding, how we chose them. Yep. And then I had a friend of mine, he does audio. So when she came in, there was this song that I knew she liked. So when she came in the Jones house, it was down in Fort Washington, Maryland. And I said, after church, so it's a little drive. So we're coming from like Baltimore. I don't know if you know anything. If it's about 34, 35, 40
I'm from Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore, but Prince George's County. It's not close.
Correct.
It's not close.
It's not, right.
So we had a little drive. So I'm nervous thinking she's going to know. And I'm making excuses why we couldn't go and we couldn't pick up chicken.
Yeah,
and
I'm like,
parking.
Wait, we didn't get the chicken.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll come back out and get the chicken.
Yeah. So
I'm like, what? But it was, so and first thing I said to myself, well, that doesn't make good sense. It was right raining. Like, why would
she didn't fight me
But
on
I didn't
anything.
say anything. I'm like,
One thing about Connie, she didn't fight me on stuff. Kind of like what I did. I didn't fight her on wedding stuff either, really. Well, some stuff maybe, but not much. But
oh yeah, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that.
No, but so she came in, and when she came in, I said, "It's happening." And that's all I said. When the door opened, she saw all these people and a light come. So think about it. You walk into a room and you see a light come on.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is going on? And her face just lit up. And there's some pictures that I'll send to you so you can show.
Yeah.
And the pictures and video, when she comes in, she's like, what's happening? And it's like, you have to it was like an out-of-body experience for you. I don't know how it felt.
Yeah,
it was just,
I mean, I didn't know what was happening. I had no idea. And they have a long little foyer.
Yeah.
So I was at the foyer, but I saw a light.
Yeah,
and I'm
light.
like, and I could hear
video
music.
light.
So that's a video. Yeah.
Yeah, and
video
I'm
light.
like, and he's like, babe, it's happening. And I was like,
said, "It's happening."
what? Just like that. And the camera caught me like, what?
Yeah.
I love to see this.
And then I said, it's happening. And we
And
walk
we walk
right in.
and then there's people. And I actually originally only saw the people to my left. And then I was still like overwhelmed. And then when I turned to the right, the whole house was full of people. My mother, like it was everybody was there. The whole house was full of people, and I lost it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I got
And
on
then
one
he just
knee.
got down on one knee.
And then I said it. And I said, it's happening. And she said, what's happening? So I just wanted to make this special because one thing I knew is that it's a team effort. And that goes how we chose our vendors. We chose them based on not
So
okay.
So hold that.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Let me hold that.
We can't give you all the juice yet.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I can go for it. You the host, not me. Let me go.
So you got on one knee and you just, and she was probably bawling, I'm sure, and all that,
Yeah, it was
because you've been through some things.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot. And a lot of the people, I mean, I can say it was probably 75% of the people in the room had been with me through the things.
Right.
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 And so I wasn't the only one bawling. It was a lot of tears in the room. He made this beautiful video collage with music behind it that they were playing on the TV screen afterwards for everybody to watch.
Yep.
Of all the pictures of the whole time that we've dated with music and all of that. And then, we did a toast, they had cake, they had food, and we did dancing, and our moms came up and we prayed, and it was just beautiful.
Yeah. Such a romantic guy, isn't he?
And then we watched the Super Bowl.
and then finally we watched the Super Bowl.
Well, we did it. I made sure I did it before the Super Bowl started, so everybody can leave.
Yeah,
everybody can go.
So everybody didn't stay, but but it was a
early
wonderful
enough.
time. Yeah.
Beautiful story. So now let's fast forward to the wedding vision.
Yeah.
So how did you decide on what you were going to do, and what was the wedding vision? I've seen pictures that are really, really beautiful pictures. RJ, shout out to RJ. He did an awesome job with that. And the videographer did an awesome job as well.
Awesome.
They got it out quick, awesome job, guys. So, but tell me about that vision. Like, how did y'all decide on it? And what was it in the end?
So I think, because initially once we kind of toyed back and forth with whether it would be stateside or whether we do a destination, and everybody kind of assumed it would be destination just because he traveled so much, and then we started traveling a lot. But once we decided that we were going to do it here in Maryland or at home, I think it was, it's hard to kind of come up with, okay, how many people are we going to invite? He knows a lot of people.
Yes.
And then, it started out with, because I had to say, okay, all your vendors aren't your friends, okay? So we can't invite everybody, okay? Because, and then this one, and then sometimes, this one invited us to their weddings, and we have to invite them to our wedding. Right. And who do you give a +1 to? And are they married? And, I mean, it's just so many things. So we started out at like 80. And we were like, okay, we're gonna see how that goes. And we went over 80, but not far. We hit about 100 people,
right,
which wasn't bad. But we tweaked. I mean, and then the theme of it kind of was I knew that I wanted it to be on a Sunday.
Okay.
Because I wanted it to be a Sunday kind of love.
Yeah.
And so you know, part of the things I know I wanted was, you know, for it to be elegant and classy and, you know, a lot of fun. And I wanted people in the room who really loved and supported us because I wanted to be able to feel that. And I think we were able to accomplish that with the group that we invited. And everybody felt the same way. We're still hearing about it, you know. But so yeah, you know, and then the process of, you know, what type of planner do we need? Do we need a full one or a partial one? Because we're both so, you know, he knew a lot of people. I already knew a lot of things. I knew what I wanted in terms of, you know, the look, so to speak. You know, I started looking up a vision of stuff. I wanted greenery. I knew that. I knew I wanted greenery. We knew we wanted black and white initially. And so it started out as that, and then it kind of evolved into, hey, let's have all the guests wear black, you know, and different things that we saw, and we kind of added on as time went on. But the good thing about it, I can say that we never got to a place where we really didn't agree. Where, you know, even if he brought something to me, sometimes we threw some outlandish stuff out there at each other just to be like, and we like, yeah, that'd be nice, but yeah, we're not paying for that. But for the most part, we were on the same page about what we kind of wanted. And so when I brought things to him, it wasn't things that I think were outlandish, where he was like, yeah, no. Yeah, I didn't get many no's in the process. So that was good.
So did y'all go ahead, Chip?
No, you just hear a lot of grooms as we do weddings, right? And a lot of grooms just the first words out of their mouth is no.
Or just tell me where to be and what. He was not that groom.
Right.
No.
I wasn't a groom
because he's in the industry.
Exactly.
I know.
Very, very, very involved. He named, so Wednesdays became Wedding Wednesdays. Every Wednesday we talk about wedding stuff, you know, and so that was his idea, you know, and so we talked about the wedding stuff.
Such an educator, isn't
I know, right? Everything is
Man,
like,
I just have a formula, and I know, I mean, that's my background, teaching, right? And I know if we start something, I know that I need a start time and an end time, because if not, it's not going to get done. Got to write it down. And there's so many things. And
so he was very involved. Even when, you know, some of the bridal shows, if I said, oh, I wanted to go, he like, oh yeah, let's go. You know, most men, you had to pull them to the bridal show. You take your girlfriends or your, you know, but we did see some other grooms and stuff there. But I mean, we had fun. And some of the time, you know, we'd already picked some of the things we wanted. We just went for the fun of it. You know, it was just a nice something to do after church, a little date. We just out, you know, taking pictures and, you know, having fun, enjoying the process.
And we wanted to make sure that she enjoyed the process. And I see a lot of people doing this in the industry where people are so stressed and they're like, you know, and I see that happen because this is a process, but we know that it's a wedding, but there's a marriage that has to happen after this. So I think that this process with our wedding, I think it flowed on to our marriage because it wasn't like, so just, and not to get too, you know, overly spiritual with people, but so we didn't live together. A lot of couples live together before they get married. We easily could have lived together, but we decided not to. Just a choice we made.
Wonderful.
You know, just because that's what we want to do. No judgment to people who live together.
Right.
But at first I was like, no, maybe we should live together because it'll be easier once we get married. And I was like, But then I said, you know what? Because I was tired of picking her up all the time, tired of dropping her off.
Or me leaving late if I could drive over.
It was
like, well, you know.
And she didn't live close to me. She lived like 25, 30 minutes away from me. So I was like, ugh, you know? So we were tired. But I think that endeared us to look forward to a wedding, to look forward to something.
To being together.
Being together like that. And I wanted to make sure she wanted everything, if in my power, to get everything she wanted and had with the wedding. And she'll send me stuff and going through there. And I was just very grateful to be a part of this process. And it takes counseling, right? So, and I'm not going to say that I'm no perfect guy. I just made my many mistakes, but I'm saying that I understand as a man, I have people in my circle that can love you, but not be impressed by you and can hold you accountable.
Right.
So until you do that as a man, even before the wedding, that was before, like when I got serious, when Connie and I got really serious about this, she knew that I was serious about who I had around my circle and who I moved out of my circle. And unfortunately, and I'll just say this is a little spicy here, but I'll say this, in our wedding industry, there are a lot of people, and I've been here, and I told Connie the story, that there are a lot of people who have broken marriages.
Yeah.
And they're so busy helping other people in their wedding, they forget to take care of home. And I was one of them.
Very
and I'm
much
just
so.
being very transparent.
Right.
I was so busy running around all over the country
Right.
and in my own marriage failing.
Yep.
And I said, that can't happen again.
Yeah.
That cannot happen again. So whatever I got to do, I will step away from my business. I will step away from photography because I got to make this first. Because at the end of my days, nobody's going to say, hey, did you adjust that shutter speed? Did you adjust that f-stop? They're going to be like, Chip, how was that guy? How was he? You know, and this goes back to the premature widow. Seeing how she was, I was like, she's going all the way for her late husband. And I see how she went with him. Just think how she's going to treat me.
Oh, yeah.
What? I'm not going to fumble her.
Right. There you
Almost did. I can't fumble this.
Yeah.
I'd be a fool to. And I was like, you know what? Let me get myself together. Let me go ahead, accountability. So I think once we got through that portion of our relationship, because a lot of people just tell all the good portions of it, but I just want to be real about it. We had struggles. And a lot of struggles, if I'm honest, were with me. Because I was like, I don't know if I'm ready. I'm single, I'm ready, I'm this. And you know how it is, man. Once you've been married for a long time, and as a Black man, fairly successful,
Yep.
You go in so many different ways and so many people in your ear and you can be impressed with your own success. So I had to be humbled with some things in 2020, especially in 2020 during the pandemic, during 2021. I think that was a test for a lot of relationships during that pandemic.
Absolutely.
You make it or you don't make it.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of weddings, a lot of divorces, unfortunately, and a lot of stuff. But I'm just grateful I had somebody that was 10 toes down that, when I was there, I said, Connie, you're going to be there. When I proposed to her, I knew that this is it. And no matter what the wedding plans were, she was always like, okay, let's see what we can do. Let's see how we can work this out.
Yeah.
And let's go for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
and we changed venues. And I'm not getting that whole story, but think about when a couple changed venues in the middle of planning.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that.
We changed venues.
We're gonna talk
Bro.
about changing venues.
Oh my God.
We're gonna talk about
Because
changing venues.
there's a lot of people that will start a wedding and put a deposit on the venue.
Yeah.
And then we changed it. Oh my God, I can't believe it.
So no, we going to get into that.
Yeah.
We definitely going to get into that. But what you said about the photographers who kind of get lost in their relationship, man. I saw a post you posted one time that said, "I'm tired."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think about that myself, man, because I myself cut back on doing a lot of weddings as well, because you realize, like, church for me on Sundays is all day. I'm at both services. It's a lot to do, and it's all day for me. Saturdays, I'm doing weddings, and then Monday through Friday, work and this and that and all of that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So you get to those Saturdays and then you realize you're not spending time with your family
At all. That's it.
And that can go wrong real quick. Thank God it didn't go wrong for me.
Yes.
My wife is very supportive. We've been almost married 20 years. You know what I mean? It's thank God for all of that.
Yeah.
But it can really.
And you've heard stories.
Yeah. And when
you
you
see-
wake up on a Saturday, it's just like, I got to do this wedding. And you're excited to do it because that's what we love to do.
And you're gone all day.
Right. But you're gone all day. You get back at night.
You're
Then for me,
tired.
next day, I'm in church all day. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it can get to be like that post you posted that said, truth is, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a lot of photographers that probably can look at that and say, I see exactly what he's saying. And you travel a lot.
Yeah, and it's a pressure. I don't travel as much as I used to. I mean, I used to, like, even Connie knows that, at least I used to brag about being at the BWI airport at least 2 to 3 times a month. How many times did I go to BWI?
Yeah.
I mean, so much.
Yeah,
I had like A status on all these airlines.
Yep.
But I'm like, what happens if you're climbing to the top of a corporate ladder or whatever ladder, entrepreneurial ladder, and then you realize that it's leaning against the wrong wall?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, oh my God, I've been doing it. Yeah. And I've been, on my bucket list, and I've been to Paris, Africa, Australia. I've been to a lot of places all over the world. But then I'm saying, like I said, and you're still empty. You still don't have that person But everybody says that, hey, man, you're killing it, you're doing it. And from the outside in, it looks great. And there's some people listening to this that from the outside in, it looks great. But inside, you're like, you know what? The pressure to perform.
Yes.
And social media was good for me. I got a lot of leads. I got a lot of stuff, but I didn't have that balance.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And we talk about that Connie has brought that balance for me. And even now, balancing is just making sure that you take care of home. If home is wrong, and I'm talking to photographers, men and women, and any other creator in the wedding industry, nothing is right.
Right.
Nothing is right. Because, like I said, I remember sitting at a wedding table on a break, and everybody around this vendor table was complaining about their marriage.
Wow.
It's crazy. I told you that story. I never forget, I was at the Belvedere in Baltimore. You know that venue. We were sitting in years ago. I'm not going to say the wedding vendor, but everybody, including me, we were all complaining. But guess what? We were all the same common denominator. I'm not saying it wasn't the spouse's fault, but we were all around there complaining about our marriages. But what were we doing in our marriages? And people don't talk about that in the wedding business, how our marriages could be falling apart, but we're making other people's dreams come true, allegedly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And being burned out. So I'm glad. And I'm still doing a few weddings, and I don't mind doing them, but I'm being more intentional about everything, because it's not about weddings. It's about work. It's about balance.
Yes.
And it's about the chasing and everything you're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't believe that weddings are bad.
Yeah.
You can have a great career, 40 years if you want to, 30 years doing it. But every weekend that I was doing, all the time gone, missing kids stuff, doing that. No. But yeah, that's where we were with that.
Yeah, getting yourself booked, man, is great.
Yeah,
but when you figure it's only a certain amount of weekends in a year, and you're booked, and it's a lot of photographers who they don't go to church, or if they do, they go whenever they feel like it. Like church for me is important.
Yeah,
Right.
I need to be there.
Yeah.
So in the last 2 years of my wedding business, I stopped taking weddings on Sundays because I need to be in church.
That's right.
And I'm just like, I have to. And one of the sisters at church said that to me, because I was just like, I'm not going to be here next Sunday because I got a wedding to do. And she was just like, what about if you had a wedding every Sunday? She was like, you wouldn't be in church. And I was like, she's right. And so, I got to the point where I was just like, you know what? It has to be a balance. It's one of my brothers, I won't say his name, but he just had a kid, and he was just like, I'm not doing them on Sundays no more. I need to spend time with my daughter.
Right.
And that is so important. And right now we're talking to the photographers that's in the industry, because Chip is he's not behind the lens now. He's talking as a married man, a couple, so but yeah, so let's move on to the planning part. Yep. Did y'all, and you said that it was like no hiccups between y'all. Did y'all run into any issues as y'all was planning this?
Probably the biggest roadblock or issue was the venue. Was the change of the venue. Everything else we pretty much, once we nailed down who would help us, who would do what, and and it was almost like, there were people that God kind of spoke to us and said, because we wanted a certain level of, yes, we wanted it to be beautiful. We wanted to, that type of thing. But I wanted the spirit of the people to be right also. Right. And, even with the planner and whoever was in my presence, I didn't want anybody whose spirit wasn't going to be right, who wasn't going to have a calming spirit, or, all of that. I was very adamant about that, because a lot of times, just, not to take anything away from anybody, they can be great, but sometimes they're a little too loud, or a little too boisterous, or a little too, it just may not mesh with my personality. And I knew what I needed. And so, we kind of prayed about who we would get to do what. And, God just started depositing names to us, and we were like, oh yeah, and the people that we reached out to were like in awe.
Right.
Like, of all people, and even our designer, our decorator, who is absolutely phenomenal, Lady Victoria Designs. When we reached out to her, she was teary eyed, and she said, "I cannot believe that Chip chose me out of all the people that he knows." And she said, "When I first started, when nobody would give me a chance, Chip did."
Wonderful.
And so it was connections like that that confirmed what God had already said to us about who to use and who we wanted to be on that team. And so, even with RJ and Nate, they're all very close with their, the Peculiar Collective and just being colleagues and friends.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful
and
thing.
So with them being there to help us start this with the engagement, and the the proposal, that was almost a no-brainer, that we would use them, for the wedding. And so that worked
synergy.
Out well. It was synergy.
And the thing I want to say, Connie, is that the folks that we chose, I think, because here's the thing, as a wedding vendor, we know a lot of people.
Yes.
And I knew for myself that I couldn't make a decision by myself because it's not my wedding, it's our wedding.
Correct.
And I didn't want anybody to be our vendor that was chasing clout.
Yeah.
Because there's some people, I know this is going to be published. See, we didn't know we would be in the New York Times. We didn't know we would be in all these other magazines that's coming out and other stuff.
Yep.
We didn't go into a wedding even.
That wasn't at all. That wasn't even on the list.
It wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, this is stuff that some people go into weddings and some clients, I've dealt with them, were saying, very few, but some clients at Chip, I want to be published in this.
I've had that.
I want to be. We have never. We have never
had that
said
conversation.
that. And we haven't. Yeah, our engagement was published. We knew it was great. It was good, but we didn't go into a wedding thinking that. But we wanted to choose people based on their heart, their skills, of course, their skill set, but really their heart and their mindset.
Right.
And I think we do that because I had some very popular photographers reach out to me, like that have shot celebrities and shot everything. Because RJ at the time really wasn't real known. I mean, he's known now, but like outside of our area, he wasn't known. But I knew his heart. I knew Nate. And I work with these guys. Yeah. And we know somebody's heart. You don't have to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed my day. I enjoyed our day.
Yeah.
Because and all of our vendors. And we interviewed some other planners, some other folks, but God just put people.
It worked out the way it was supposed to.
It's supposed to work out. We go to another venue and we see people there. So it worked out. All things work, and all things work together. So they all work together for us, and we just were continually just looking at it, praying about it, and just being intentional.
Right.
And I wanted to make sure that it wasn't about me because, with Connie, she could have picked 5 of her friends.
Right.
And I could have picked 5 of the people I knew. They'd been like, but you know what? She would be like, no, and I wasn't offended. Even if you did say no, we worked it out. So
Yeah, RJ, man, I met him. I met him once when Kenny and I shot Jermaine's wedding.
Yes,
and he was there, and man,
as a guest, right?
Yeah,
as a guest.
Great guy, man.
Yeah,
I mean, just a humble, great. Like I sent you in a text message. You know. Great guy, man. So I can understand what you're saying about you knew his heart.
And good spirit.
I mean? Yeah.
Didn't make Connie nervous. He knew the makeup artist. Connie's makeup artist is fabulous. And they work together. Yep. So think about it. When you go to a wedding and you know a makeup artist that you work with that's good, how much easier does it make your day?
Yeah.
Doesn't it make your day easier?
For sure. Absolutely.
So she had Jaja, who was close with RJ already. So their interactions were just what?
I mean, it was just like second nature. I mean,
and Nate and RJ
when I
got
together there, when she got there, who was the photographer? I said RJ. That's her photographer. He does her personal photos.
Okay.
So Legally Beat, and she's makeup artist to the stars. Sarah Jakes Roberts. But she's been my makeup artist for the last decade. So she's more than my makeup artist. She's a friend of mine.
Right.
And so and ironically, I've had several over this last decade annual events. Jazz brunch, galas for Premature Widow, and she's always been there. So she's watched
Wonderful.
So, for her to be there, it was full circle for her as well to see me in this
so
space.
Synergy, like I said,
it's just all across the board.
And as a vendor, we like working with people. Like you'll work with Kenny Clapp, you'll work with videographers, photographers that work well with you.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And when the bride or groom hires those people, you're like, thank goodness. And if they hire somebody else, you're like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be a long day.
Right.
Because we had them long days before.
Oh yes. Yeah.
8-10 hours fighting with a videographer, fighting with the caterer, or the makeup artist is late.
Yep.
The hairstylist is late. So I just wanted to make sure that since we know people, that the people that we bring together mesh.
Yeah.
I know everybody doesn't have to do each other well, but we want to make sure that happens. So we had no issues with that.
Right.
And RJ and Nate shot our engagement photos also. So we had already, from proposal to engagement
to wedding.
I mean,
how people change different photographers.
So you didn't know them?
I did.
Prior to?
I did because through Chip.
Right.
And then going on.
But you didn't know them before me.
No.
Right.
I didn't know them before. No.
So
I'd heard of RJ though. Yeah. Because he's done, my makeup artist and then even like some of the pastor, a lot of church stuff. Right. So I knew a lot. I knew his work from that, but I met him for the first time through Chip.
Right.
In person. Yeah.
Right. So, and the reason I'm asking that is because y'all had an engagement session with them, right?
Yes.
Correct.
And that helped you to feel more comfortable for the wedding day, right?
Yeah, I would say. And even because, even prior to that, so by that time, RJ was already like my big son. Because I would go sometimes with him to peculiar events or whatever. So I knew the crew as the crew. Hey, Miss Connie, all of that.
Yeah.
So once it got to the point where, they were all super excited about us getting married, it was just a no-brainer, it was just fun. It was light. It was no pressure because it was RJ, and when he started cutting up, I'm like, RJ, he's like, okay, I'm sorry. And so he just like, he's like, they're family. They're family to us, literally. And then, consequently, our family who was at the proposal and all that, they, by the time they got to the wedding, they all hugging RJ and dapping them up because everybody knows RJ and Nate now because they're family.
Right.
And so that's just how it just all came full circle.
It's kind of like with your clients. There's some clients, and even with our wedding, I invited some of my brides and grooms that are close to me.
Yeah.
I didn't invite all of them, but there's some brides and grooms that you even know that you like, if I had a 30th anniversary or 25th, I would invite this client because they're close.
Oh, yeah.
So there's some people like that. You build relationships because, it's a business transaction, but at the end of the day, it's a transaction of the heart too, because these people meant something. They hired me, but
then they hired you for their, maternity or the baby, or invited us to the baby's first birthday party. And we went to the birthday party.
Oh yeah.
And so they too become, extended part of, good friends. And so why not,
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
That is good stuff. So did you get any flack from anybody? Why you didn't choose me to be a photographer or, videographer or, caterer or venue selection? Did you get anything back like that? And we don't have to say names.
No.
Really like to say names unless it's a good thing. We saying names about RJ and Nate and all of that and the makeup artists. If we're talking about good stuff like that, absolutely drop the names.
Right.
But we don't drop names
No.
outside of that.
No.
So is it anything you want to talk about that?
Well, being in the industry, people approach you via DM. We get a lot of, from various people.
Yep.
And then you're like, okay, but we never really did business together, So, and then there's some people that probably were offended that I didn't ask them, and I understand that. But at the end of the day, it's a joint decision.
Correct.
So yes, there were some photographers, I'll just say that, and some videographers, just because I know that well.
Yeah.
And even some decorators that I work with. But again, we went off of two things: their heart, and we prayed about it.
Yeah.
We take this seriously, and I know everybody says that, but we really just didn't make rash decisions on this stuff. And it wasn't, and I think that I am a recovering people pleaser. So Connie knows I don't like saying no to people. I want to make everybody happy. I want everybody to like me. But I'm realizing the higher you get, the more elevation or just everything. You cannot do that. You just have to stand your ground and say, this is what it is. And this is how it goes. And yeah, there were people that were upset with us. Maybe me, I don't know about Connie, but mainly me. And I'll take the heat for that. But I just put it back to it's a joint decision. It's not a Chip decision.
And I don't know if it was
upset
was the right word.
Okay.
But maybe just, there were some people who, there were some that thought they were assuring.
Right.
That always happens, right? And then there were some that I think, they'll ask the question like, now who's going to shoot
Chip's
your wedding?
Exactly.
Or even before the proposal, people were saying little things in comments like, well, I'll be the wedding planner, or what, they were shooting their shot kind of subtly in the comments.
And in some DM, I used to show you some DMs.
You would get some messages.
Some vendors were saying that
would offer stuff like, I'll do this for you, and this and that
for almost free. And I'm like, well, we're not asking for free, but we're grateful for it. But we want to make sure we honor people's gifts. And like I said, we don't want people to come on for clout to try to get and we just know that the people that we were going to choose were going to be blessed regardless.
Right.
Regardless. We just know that. We've seen that happen, right, Connie? So we just wanted to make sure. So my advice to couples, whether it's your first marriage or your second marriage, doesn't matter, is that choose the people that have your best interests. Yes, you're going to look at prices. Yes, you're going to look at work. But at the end of the day, who is going to be there, not stress you out on that day, the biggest day of your life, and not have you anywhere. Yeah, there's some people that can take fabulous pictures and fabulous video, but it's collateral damage on that day. There's no way I would want her in a tizzy. She was so calm during the wedding. Like, you were so calm. When we had our alone time, sometimes brides are like, when she came in and she saw her first look for the venue to see her reception, she did what I want my brides to do. I was jealous because I was like, Dad, I want some of my brides to do that. She cried. She looked at her. Isn't that a great thing when a bride walks into a reception venue for the first look and she sheds a tear? Not fussing like, this should be here, that should be there. And you want to capture that as a photographer.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, man, I wish I could capture that. But I was glad to see her do that because I knew that the vision came full circle for her.
Right.
And for me, it was just being there and witnessing it to make sure. Because I said this the last line in the New York Times article. I said, does anybody deserves a wedding like we had? It's Connie.
Right.
It's her. And I know everybody says that, but what you've been through with your daughter, all the moves, all the stuff that you've been through, stuff that I'm just finding out even now that's happened. You know what I mean? Of anything, and if anybody deserved a wedding that I could do, I said, listen, I'll do Uber Eats, DoorDash, and I have. I'm serious.
Make this happen.
I have, haven't I?
He does whatever it takes.
I do whatever it takes because I'm going to stand 10 toes down for this woman because she has been through a lot and she's been there for me. And I know that till death do us part means something. I know it means something for a lot of people, but I know without a shadow of doubt it means something to her. And it comes full circle. So we're very fortunate for this.
Wonderful. That is awesome. That is awesome. Good stuff, man. Yeah. Good stuff. So the venue, you guys had to change venues. What you want to talk about what happened when you had to change venues, and any advice for couples that what to look out for, what happened, why it happened, and how you guys got around it?
So, it's no dub to the venue, right? It wasn't the venue. It was actually, it was us, because I think that we chose the venue. And so what I would say firstly is don't take anything off the table. Okay. And I think one of the mistakes we probably made was we took certain things off the table without even thinking about it, right? Like the hotel. The hotel was off the table. No.
That was me.
That was him.
That was me.
Absolutely. Not having a hotel wedding. We're not doing that. It's too many, it's always something.
That was me. I would. Right. And Connie was so gracious. Let me tell you something. She was so gracious. She didn't look at hotels. She looked at country clubs. She looked at restaurants. Yeah. She didn't. When I said no hotels, She said, okay.
I was like, okay. Then you got
No
a hotel.
hotels, no hotel weddings. And having a hotel wedding is great. I'm not saying to brides and couples not to have one, but you know, as a photographer, he didn't want a hotel wedding.
Right, but it had nothing to do with photography.
Okay.
But so he,
you
know, we were looking, he was looking at the bottom line because, you know, the hotels, the numbers, you
catering,
know, the catering, all that stuff.
Yep.
So, okay, so we took that off the table and we looked at other things, the country club. You know, it was nice, but was it nice for the wedding?
Right. And then was it nice for Chip?
Right.
Was it nice for Chip?
Right. Was it going to, you know, match what the vision was? And, you know, and then and the other thing he hated was a room flip. Right?
Yeah.
So
we hate that as photographers, don't we? Don't we, bro?
Yes. That's one of my questions that's in my questionnaire. Are you flipping the room? When they say yeah, I'm just like, all right, I'll deal with it. But when they say no, I'm just like jumping and kicking 2 feet in the air.
That's one thing I would not compromise on room flip.
He didn't want a room flip.
At all.
However,
at all.
He loved the prices of the places that would require a room flip.
That's the problem. See, that's a problem right there, bro. You know, when we say yes, but then when you look at the bottom line, you know, these wedding prices in 2023, 2024, he's like, okay, flip me. Bruh, flip me. My wallet's flipping 4 times.